Welcome to Defense Briefing. The content of the briefing includes Week 9 Mountain West Football Bowl projections. Deaf family grieves father of 4 and beloved community leader who was killed in Maine shootings. Tuesday briefing. Macron lands in Putin's backyard seeking new friends and uranium. Russia's Shoigu claims U.S. fueling tension to uphold global dominance. Week 9 Mountain West Football Bowl projections. Yahoo! Mountain West Wire predicts that the Mountain West will get 6 bowl teams this year. They predict that Air Force will face Washington in the VRBO Fiesta Bowl and that Fresno State will play UCLA in the LA Bowl. Deaf family grieves father of 4 and beloved community leader who was killed in Maine shootings. Associated Press. Josh Seal, an American Sign Language interpreter, was one of 4 deaf people killed in the mass shootings at a bowling alley and bar in Maine. Seal, who was deaf, couldn't hear the gunfire, but his wife said some deaf survivors felt startling jolts. Seal, who had 4 deaf children, was the director of interpreting services for Pine Tree Society, an organization that helps people with disabilities. He was also known for his work translating Maine's daily COVID-19 briefings during the pandemic. Tuesday briefing. New York Times. The Israeli military has approached Gaza City from 3 directions and continues to carry out airstrikes on the territory. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected calls for a ceasefire, stating that they would be calls for Israel to surrender to Hamas, to surrender to terrorism. The Israeli advance has increased fears among those still in Gaza City. In other news, Russia's offensive in eastern Ukraine to seize the city of Avdiivka is shaping up to be the costliest of the war so far for Moscow. Hundreds of soldiers have died and over 100 armored vehicles and tanks have been lost. Climate scientists have estimated that humans are cutting emissions too slowly to keep global warming below the 1.5 degrees Celsius limit set by the Paris Agreement. At the current rate of carbon emissions, the limit is expected to be passed in under 6 years. Finally, President Biden has signed an executive order requiring companies to report on the risks that their artificial intelligence systems could pose in helping countries or terrorists make weapons of mass destruction. Macron lands in Putin's backyard seeking new friends and uranium. Bloomberg. French President Emmanuel Macron is visiting Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan to boost France's energy security and encourage the former Soviet republics to look beyond their dependence on Russia. France is seeking to diversify away from Russian fossil fuels, and Central Asia's vast reserves of oil, gas, and minerals make it an attractive region for influence. France already has investments in the region, including uranium deposits in Kazakhstan, which are important for its nuclear reactors. The visit comes as France's traditional sphere of influence is narrowing due to increasing geopolitical challenges from Russia. Russia's Shoigu claims U.S. fueling tension to uphold global dominance. Al Jazeera. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu has accused the United States of deliberately undermining international security and strategic stability in order to maintain global dominance. Speaking at a military diplomacy conference in China, Shoigu also claimed that NATO was seeking to expand its presence in the Asia-Pacific under the guise of dialogue and collaboration. He warned of the growing risk of confrontation between nuclear-armed countries and highlighted the West's line towards escalation with Russia as a potential catalyst for direct conflict between nuclear powers. China's defense minister, Li Shangfu, echoed Shoigu's concerns about global turmoil and interference in regional issues. No one trusts Netanyahu, Israel's war cabinet divided amid Gaza conflict. Al Jazeera. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has faced criticism over his response to the recent Hamas assault on Israel. In a tweet, Netanyahu said he had not been informed about the warnings of the attack, placing blame on the army and intelligence chiefs. Political leaders condemned Netanyahu for playing politics during a military campaign. The incident has highlighted a rift within the political and military establishment, questioning the Prime Minister's leadership. A poll released last week showed trust in the government was at a 20-year low. Thousands feared displaced in new Myanmar clashes, UN. Japan Times. Thousands of people have been displaced by fighting in northern Myanmar, with several hundred reportedly fleeing to China, according to the United Nations. The fighting began on Friday when 3 ethnic armed organizations launched attacks on junta troops in northern Shan State. The area is home to a billion-dollar rail link that is part of China's Belt and Road Infrastructure Initiative. The armed groups have claimed to have seized military posts and key roads. Breaking the bamboo ceiling, this Japanese play finally hits Australian stage. The Sydney Morning Herald. The Australian premiere of Hisashi Inoue's play, The Face of Jizo, is set to take place in Sydney in November. The two-hander, which has been translated by Sydneysider Roger Pulvers, tells the story of a father and daughter in Hiroshima 3 years after the atomic bomb was dropped. Pulvers believes the play is post-war Japan's most important and wants to bring it to Australian audiences to increase understanding of contemporary Japanese theatre. She knew I struggled, Adrian Edmondson on confiding in wife Jennifer Saunders. The Sydney Morning Herald. Adrian Edmondson, best known for his roles in British comedy shows such as The Young Ones and Bottom, has discussed his traumatic childhood and mental health struggles in a recent interview. Speaking about his recently published memoir Berserker, Edmondson spoke candidly about his childhood, which was marked by violence and strained relationships with his parents. He also revealed that he has struggled with depression and suicidal thoughts throughout his life. However, therapy and the deaths of 2 friends who took their own lives have changed his perspective, and he now sees suicide as an aggressive act. Edmondson also spoke about his relationship with his comedy partner Rick Mayall, who died in 2014. He explained that the pair were very close, but eventually drifted apart as Mayall's behavior became increasingly erratic. Edmondson said that he missed Mayall as a friend more than a colleague. Edmondson has since moved on to other projects, including acting in dramas such as War and Peace and EastEnders, and playing a Galactic Empire captain in Star Wars, Episode 8 The Last Jedi. New documents show number of attempted wellness checks on Robert Card weeks before mass shooting. Yahoo! Documents released by the Sagadahoc County Sheriff's Office show that Robert Card, the man accused of mass shootings in Lewiston, Maine, had been the subject of several attempted wellness checks. Card's family contacted the sheriff's office on May 3, 2023, expressing concern for his mental health and saying he had access to firearms. The sheriff's office received another call regarding Card in September of that year, when a U.S. Army Reserve staff sergeant contacted them with concerns. Officers conducted 2 wellness checks on the 15th and the 16th of September, but did not see Card at his residence. A warning that Card was armed and dangerous was issued, and his unit commander informed the police that Card no longer had any weapons from the reserve unit. Card killed 18 people and injured 13 more before taking his own life on October 25. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Six from the Six-Dimensional World, here to bring you a summary of this week's news. Let's dive in. In the sports world, the Mountain West Conference is predicted to have 6 teams in bowl games this year. Air Force and Fresno State are among the teams expected to make appearances. So, get ready for some exciting football action. Tragedy struck a deaf community in Maine, as 4 people were killed in a mass shooting. Among them was Josh Seal, an American Sign Language interpreter who played a vital role in translating COVID-19 briefings during the pandemic. Our thoughts go out to the victims' families during this difficult time. In international news, tensions continue to rise in the Middle East as Israel carries out airstrikes on Gaza City. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected calls for a ceasefire, causing fears for those still in the area. Meanwhile, Russia's offensive in eastern Ukraine has proven to be costly, with hundreds of soldiers and numerous armored vehicles lost. French President Emmanuel Macron is making moves to secure France's energy future by visiting Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. France aims to diversify away from Russian fossil fuels and tap into the vast reserves of oil, gas, and minerals in Central Asia. It seems like Macron is trying to make some new friends and secure some uranium along the way. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu has accused the United States of undermining global security to maintain dominance. He also expressed concerns about NATO's expansion in the Asia-Pacific. These statements highlight the growing tensions between nuclear-armed countries and the potential for direct conflict. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is facing criticism for his handling of the recent conflict with Hamas. Political leaders have condemned his response, and trust in the government is at a 20-year low. It seems like Netanyahu's leadership is being put to the test during this challenging time. In Myanmar, thousands of people have been displaced due to fighting between ethnic armed organizations and the junta. The conflict has also impacted China's Belt and Road Infrastructure Initiative, as the area is home to a billion-dollar rail link. The situation remains tense and uncertain. On a lighter note, an important Japanese play, The Face of Jizo, is set to premiere in Australia. The play tells the story of a father and daughter in Hiroshima after the atomic bomb was dropped. It aims to increase understanding of contemporary Japanese theatre and promote cultural exchange. Adrian Edmondson, known for his roles in British comedies, has opened up about his traumatic childhood and mental health struggles. He has candidly discussed his battles with depression and suicidal thoughts. Edmondson's story serves as a reminder that mental health affects people from all walks of life, and seeking help is crucial. Lastly, documents have revealed that the man accused of mass shootings in Maine had been the subject of several attempted wellness checks. The tragedy highlights the importance of mental health awareness and the need for effective intervention and support systems. That wraps up this week's news. Remember, it's essential for us to stay informed about what's happening in the world. So, what are your thoughts on these stories? Do you have any questions or opinions? Let's keep the discussion going. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.